So welcome to the last masterclass of this summer film school with Akiho Kaurismäkiho. So, are you ready?
Almost.
Okay, let's start. We are going to see LFŠ, your newest piece tonight, and it's dealing with immigrants theme. It's not for the first time this motive in your work, but the situation has a little changed because immigration is much more discussed theme in European film. Have you noticed that, or have you reflected somehow?
Since I've come outside of Europe, I haven't really noticed. Since I don't even speak any European language, so how would I have noticed?
But you speak Portuguese a little.
It's also outside of Europe, I heard. But as an African art director, I have to say you are right. Whatever you say, I agree.
Okay.
I don't want to even know what it's about. This was, by the way, Jean-Paul Sartre play Dirty Hands. There's a boss and the worker. The worker is so loyal to the boss that he says, whatever he says, I agree, and I don't even want to know what he says.
Marcel Marx is coming back in LFŠ in this film. Is it a name coming back or a character moving to another of your films?
Marx might come back, but Engels I can't guarantee. It was a private, I have very tender feelings of La Vie de Bohème, so this was the same actors, so I use the same name, and also a small reference that it's the same man. But the rest I did for the audience, no deeper meanings. One is not as cold as I expected.
In the very beginning of the film, there is a poster of La Cirque Fratellini, which we are going to see, and it's, according to me, definitely not an accident. So, why is that in the film?
I always make low-budget films, and since the circus was in town, we stole the posters.
I don't believe you.
This is a fact. I never tell the circus.
I won't. The French detective in the film is the most French you can imagine, right? Was it planned this way? Or can you imagine more French detective than Monet in your LFŠ?
He looked like half Belgium, but I changed to half.
Isn't Belgium outside of Europe?
Yeah, if you really get south center of Europe, that it means that in the end you vanish. It's like a black hole.
This country is thought to be in the heart of Europe, in the center.
Yeah, it's a part of the European Union, where we get back to the black hole, back to the vanishing. Which means I think Belgium is a country which all of us should follow wherever they go. And especially check the Darden Brothers films, which are the best made nowadays.
You like Darden Brothers?
They are the best.
Why have you decided for LFŠ? And what's the difference between LFŠ and Helsinki?
My Interrail ticket ended that day.
And the crew came later.
Crew comes where I tell them it now.
Okay, now very serious about your work and studies. You've studied journalism.
Questions are always serious. Getting a bit boring. This is an electronic cigarette, nobody will die. Hopefully. It doesn't even work. Give me a second, I will listen to your question meanwhile.
The question is concerning your journalism studies. What was the aim? What were your plans at the time? Why have you studied journalism? No reason?
I was a very idealistic young man when I was young, which was more or less like yesterday. And I thought, okay, as a writer, a journalist, I can always write of the problems of the world. But then I noticed that there are no problems in the world, and I started to make films.
I don't believe you either, but never mind. Okay. Then you worked, for instance, in a paper factory. What are your memories about working in a paper factory?
My memory is that the machine was bigger than me.
How long did you stay there? Or were you fired, or you just went away on your own?
Let's say that I fired myself. No, I was, at that time I was at 3-4 months in every job because I wanted to know how to do it. And then I took another job. I did this and that. The only job I loved was dishwashing. In a huge restaurant hotel. So the machine was bigger than me, but I could control it.
Dishwashing is not usually seen as a favorite job. Anyone?
And maybe that's why they didn't pay me a penny.
Is there anything you brought from this part of your life? You've previously told me that you are practical in a technical way, that you can do many things, dealing with many machines and so on. So is this what comes from this period of your life, let's say?
There's one thing I can't stop it. Seems to be your questions.
So it's working, okay. And you also worked as a guard, as a security guard. Am I right? No. So what was that job? Your job. As a guard, you told to be in many texts about you, guard or security man.
No, it was just a screening when the public got aggressive. I said I'm used to be a guard, and then they went away. I never been a security guard, and I never knew. Of course, if needed, I could be.
And how did you begin writing for Filmu, the Finnish film magazine?
I was a student, and as everybody knows more or less that if you're a student, you don't have a daily salary. For writing something to film will carry me to bread for a day or two, sometimes. Except they never paid, but anyway. I started to like writing, so I didn't get paid on it.
And when did you read Dostoevsky for the first time? Was it during the studies?
No, it was just the period was between 16 to 21 years of my life. So it was in that time in Finland, it was the only book you could get from the library. I was just asking them. All the rest were burned to eat the library.
You have also told me that you have read 3,000 books this year. So what have you read recently? It's gonna be long masterclass, I know, but...
I think there's a misunderstanding. I said that while living in Portugal 21 years, I read 3,000 books, but never the dictionary of Portuguese language. But if you want the books, I can easily.
It's enough to name some.
I read everything. I mean, many agree that I even read the advertisement. I have anything else to read. My favorites are this and that. Mostly those are Colin Green, whatsoever. I like music.
You have been, by many critics, connected to Rainer Werner Fassbinder or to Bresson, to many others. I would like to ask about Yasujiro Ozu. What's your approach to his work?
Which one of them? You mentioned three.
I mean Yasujiro Ozu.
Attitude to Ozu is first of all total humble admiration, and secondly is to wonder how can he make so simple things so beautiful. And I'm still studying them. The answer is not in the pictures, the answer is in the spirit, which is somehow beautiful. If you find out
Ozu is very much interested in all the parts of families, all the parts of Japanese culture at that time. He's interested in what is old, not in what is new. Do you have it in common?
No, I also was documenting the death of Japanese culture. And I do the same in Finland. It also was supported documentation. Had it as family stories and this, but he always saw that society is falling down. It's breaking. He just calmly documented the process through family stories.
It's a death of culture, but not a death directly on the screen. No murders and so on. I know you have once said that this is admirable according to you.
Yeah, it's always admirable if you can make a film without a machine gun. If this is the answer you want. In general, any film with gun or violence has to be very well based, because in this world of violence, why? So if you have a gun, it must be a murder mystery or something, but otherwise they are not needed. Wrong with them. Shaking all over.
Would you like to have mine?
Look, now it's okay.
Okay.
Now you are shaking.
I remember very much some of the shots in your film, which are forward-moving shots on a character, on Kati Outinen mostly. It's, the camera is closing up to her, and it looks like really in a classic Hollywood films. Is it meant to be a reference, or is it inspired? Because you are definitely inspired by classical Hollywood. I would love to help you, but I don't know if this thing is working.
Bye-bye cigarettes. So, only camera drive from Osu's films you can find in Tokyo Monogatari, where suddenly, in the middle of, he made about 60 films, at least 40, in the middle of Tokyo Monogatari, Tokyo Story, suddenly there's a camera drive without any reason. Just the old couple is visiting Tokyo, and then they're walking by the river or the sea, and suddenly there's totally shaking, stupid, unneeded camera drive. And I think this is a comment, his comment of storytelling is that, okay, studio, if you want flashing storytelling, here you have one camera drive, which doesn't mean anything. And camera drives in general are used by very young directors who don't know how to tell the story. Always, if I'm nervous, I put a camera drive there, and editing table, hey, because cutting is so much easier. What was the question?
The close-up, the camera closing up to people's face, very emotionally.
Well, normally the people's faces are more interesting than the wall.
Otherwise,
Depends on the face, of course.
every movement of the camera has to be motivated somehow. That's what I feel when I'm watching your film, some of your films.
If you go very puristic, every moment which is not in the service of the story is not needed. But this is a basic Hollywood B-movie idea, is that every moment, every cut has to serve the story, every line has to serve the story. But then there's also art films where the pictures serve a different purpose. And then there are my films which are not neither films nor art. So sometimes they could be called as compromise films.
Here is a cinema full of people who like your films, I suppose.
Yeah, only because the doors are locked.
I would say they are here because they like your films anyway. But you call them lousy films. Why?
partly my shyness and my lacking capability of advertising. But always, if you are an author in dying business, there's no industry anymore. You are always on your own when you jump in this kind of idea of making a film. So it's I know some people who make films and they want to make art and they want to go everywhere and they get money for it and then they make an art film which they love themselves. I personally hate every film I ever made because I can only see the mistakes. I'm proud of them, but I'm ashamed because I made a mistake here, every time.
Lighting in your films is done by the DOP, by Timo Salminen.
Yes, we were together 30 years or so more. The working is divided so that I decide the camera and the objective and the framing and he the lighting. More or less pretty.
More or less?
I mean, he can read, so he understands the spirit of the story. More or less means that not always. I mean, that I might accidentally go there and push on it. But it's not. No, that's really the dividing the job is that I say camera here, this is the lens, here's the framing. I'll be in the next bar if I have 15 minutes.
And are you discussing the image, how it should light before, or do you really say it's up to you? Because lighting in many of your films remind us of also some classical movies.
I have no plans for. I have no picture plan. I go picture by picture. So nobody knows, not even me. It's the next time. I take one picture and then I decide on it. So it makes it impossible to discuss with even with the cameraman about next. Because he will know, since I don't know. And the producer will tell, since it's me. We just try to do everything as commercially as possible.
How have you compiled the style of Juha, the film, which somehow looks like done in late 20s, approximately, but also with many newer techniques and many references from later history of cinema.
What kind of newer techniques?
Well, there would be no Douglas Sirk movement in front of the car in all the film, even if it would not be Douglas Sirk or some different name.
It's Sirk. Because Douglas Sirk's original name was Detlef Sirk. And I put in a car, which was in fact some kind of a Corvette, and I put Sirk. But to put a car, call a car Sirk is not modern technology, is it? And just glue it there. Glue is not new. So, in which way do you mean that it's modern technology?
No, maybe it's just a feeling, but there is something different, right?
Of course, and making a silent film is most difficult because the aesthetics is totally different than sound film. It's not only that you take sound away, because the whole storytelling is different. In the last reel, I almost succeeded. Until that, I was stuck.
That's why there are intertitles in the beginning, and after that they nearly disappear.
Yeah, that's the process of my learning. Titles were very titles less and less. In the last role, nothing. Because it's not like that. Silent movie is not a film you take a sound away. It's totally a form of art. And cinema was at its best, I think, before sound came and destroyed everything, because then the microphone came. And suddenly the camera was inside a box with this kind of walls, and nobody could move because the microphone, which was bigger than this hall, was there. And it went suddenly back to theater. Actors shouted the microphone, and all the style and all the skillful habit of making films suddenly vanished. It took about 15 years to get it back.
What was the idea of sound, respectively music, in Juha? Was it afterwards, after it was shot, or previously?
I have a friend called Akiho Kaurismäkiho who made music for that. And he wanted to me to make a silent movie, and I wanted to make Juha, the story. And suddenly, just in the middle of dinner room, we put these ideas together. So that it's very much composed. Even that I a bit edited before.
Have you seen film Thomas, finished production? It's like 4 years old.
No, I haven't. I'm always outside of Finland when the films come out.
It's little Kaurismäki style, done by another director. Is it?
Poor man.
Don't you see any impact of yours on world cinema, or you would not like to see it?
It doesn't harm me at all. But there might be better places to take the influence.
A lady sitting next to me was crying while many...
No wonder.
But you don't know what film I'm talking about.
Not yet.
Okay, I'll explain in a minute. I'm talking about the Match Factory girl. A lady next to me was crying while many other people in the audience were laughing. So I said to myself, whether is it because most of the people follow the style and they laugh, but this lady followed the inner feelings of that poor Iris, and so she cried. Is it dividable this way, like the people who are following rather your style can smile more, and those people who go deeper in the characters rather cry?
I had this problem because 100 Cost Business was, for me, a dark comedy, but because it was Shakespeare, nobody laughed because it's Shakespeare, which means it's almost like opera, which means you have to be serious. And that's why nobody understood the shit. But Match Factory Girl for me is a tragedy. It's minimum amount of humor, but I couldn't do anything without some part of being at least some humor always has to be there, even in drama. Even in tragedy, I mean.
When talking about rhythm and tempo of your films, great. Should,
Now you can relax now.
because you are going to talk, or
No, the cigarette is working.
so should the rhythm of the film escalate in the end, or not?
Depends on the film which I'm talking about.
Your films in general,
What means escalate?
like a gradation, some outbreak in the end of style, I mean.
Editing is the only part of cinema which I like, but what does it mean escalate? Faster or what do you mean?
Yeah, it goes faster.
Or slower? It should change to the end. Either you go very fast to the end, or you slow down a little bit. Depends exactly of the story. Both are possible, but one thing is sure, it can't remain the same.
And can you tell us in which of your films these endings are slower?
In fact, they are not, because cinema is manipulation of the mind of the audience. So speed can remain the same, but in the mind of the audience, go slower, go faster. But the rhythm of editing can stay the same, but in the head of the audience, it goes faster or slower. And this has to be counted, and which any good editor can. Any good editor don't go that, okay, now he shoots that and they die and then they're laughing and then they shoot the other one and nobody's laughing. Any good editor should count the rhythm of the audience. Audience's head, if you can. Audience is hopefully more than one. In my case, give it that, but I pay for something to be in the cinema. That would be so much humiliated.
You mean?
But technically, we could check that. I think maybe in the end of my films, the rhythm goes lower, but in the audience, it goes faster.
Could you tell us what words would you use when describing physics of Kati Outinen? Is she nice? Is she beautiful, according to you?
I don't comment physics of female actors. Male, yes. Once on a set of Party Payment. This man is like a dog which was thrown over by a truck, broke his leg, and is going over the street because of that, with the pain. That was a good answer, no?
Very good. Dogs Have No Hell is the title of one of your
Not
shows.
so far.
So it changed. Everything's getting worse.
They're using euro in hell nowadays.
what orders do you give to your actors?
Done. Okay. I normally work with one shot theory, one shot, that's it. If I have to do another one, I normally bit more or bit less. I wouldn't hire them if I had to talk with them.
And more and less means more acting, less acting?
A bit more expression, a bit less. Normally tell them to keep your hands in your pockets because this is a sound film.
I don't understand really.
Theater you play with your hands, sound film you can talk.
Okay. I would very be pleased to hear some larger comment of you on what is called sisu in Finland.
Even the Yankee Doodles have a word for that, it's called guts, but it's not the same thing.
So, in which way it differs?
Sisu means that you never give up even if you're dead.
And is it given to people when they are born, or they can like lost it and meet it during their life?
I don't know, I never lost mine, but if you lose it, I guess it's hard to get back, but it comes basically with the mother's milk.
And there might be also another feeling which is not Finnish but Portuguese, seen in your films. That's kind of saudade, which is typical for Portuguese people. Have you met it when you came to Portugal, and it was think you met over there, or have you thought about it before? Or there is no saudade in your films? It's kind of Portuguese longing, yearning.
You mean saudade?
Yeah. Sorry for my pronunciation.
Yeah, it's wrong. In Brazilian it's saudade, Portuguese saudade. I had it always because it's not an accident that I live in Portugal, partly in Finland, because both have it. In Finland it's called melancholy. In Portugal it's called saudade, but Portuguese saudade is really special. It's deeper than Finnish melancholy, it's even deeper. Tango tells a lot about that, of Finnish melancholy, but then also Faro tells about saudade.
In the Finnish tango, it's music to dance or music to cry? To dance or to cry, or both at the same time? I don't know.
Cry afterwards. Argentinian tango is a dance which you do for the public, for somebody who is looking. Finnish tango is two people together, and the rest of the world is go. That's why tango was originally invented in Finland in the 19th century. Some years before Kaurismäki, who was originally Finnish, was born.
Do you like Carlos Gardel, or do you like only the Finnish tango?
There are two kings in tango. One is Finnish, one is Argentine. Kaurismäki, of course, and then Olavi from Finland. Two masters.
That's the guy who did the song in the end of The Match Factory Girl, or is it a different one?
Yes, and also in the end of Ariel. Well, if you count my endings of my films, I think it's always either Karel or Wirt. Just lazy.
Many of your films begin with some loss or failure. Does it mean new beginning for the characters?
If you want, you are the audience, so my power is limited to last scene. What happens after that is in your mind. You have no control.
They lose their jobs, but Man Without Past nearly loses his life, so it's the absolute new beginning.
Might be, as I said, it's after that. It's not pretty. Hopefully, I like my characters, so hopefully you have a happy life with 60 children and money to raise them.
In the book published here, you have signed many times before this masterclass. There is a study called From Loneliness to Self-Reliance to Independence. Is it the direction for most of your characters, or is it up to us again?
Well, I haven't read the book. My Slovak is better than my Czech, but I guess you're right.
You mostly avoid some social or political criticism in your films, but you are critical.
I'm still dreaming of a perfect world. But since you don't seem to be behind the next corner, at least would like to work which would have some respect for the people, that they are not very tortured and die for starvation every day. So it would be quite stupid to use a machine called cinema without any message at all. I mean, any moral comment. But you can't make a political comment with a film, because then nobody will come and see it. But you can always have a moral comment. Whatsoever, but something has to be there.
And why have you decided for putting the reports on China events in the TV of Iris?
Because now it's safe. I mean, nobody can take it away. You know, the Chinese government they can close the television channels. They can take it out of internet and anything, but if it's in a film, there forever. Independently, if anybody sees the film, it's still there.
And you said to yourself, when knowing about these Chinese events, like, this is too much. I need to put it in the film. This is too big or too cruel.
This is too romantic. In fact, I said to myself, I need a beer.
Could you tell us how are Leningrad Cowboys doing? Do you meet them regularly?
No, then the band doesn't exist anymore. There's still a band with the same name, but it's not the same musician. But But the characters of the band exist in the religion. Yes. But if you see a band with the same title, it's not the same.
Was there any anticipation or prototype of Leningrad Cowboys in that bunch of Franks in Calamari Union, your second film?
Not in that one. There was one. It was called Elvis. I don't know what happened to him.
But not the Franks.
The Frank, the idea that everybody's Frank is really laziness, because once in my lifetime I tried to work, and I went to a bath and I took a piece of paper and a pen. Now I have to name all these characters. I got to 3 of them. There were 17. Got so boring that I said, okay, I call them all Frank, except one is Pekka, because he speaks English. And Pekka is a Finnish name. It was logical.
In most of your films there is a concert sequence, so it's kind of lyric digression or just a take off for some time, turn off. Is it meant to be a pause for the audience, or you simply like those bands so you want to have in your films?
I have a deal with my scriptwriters so that in every film there has to be 4 minutes only music, that he don't have to write the dialogue. And I signed that. And Devil was the witness.
We've been talking about the fact that some older times are more poetic for you than nowadays. Is today going to be more poetic for us after 20 or 30 years?
Any time is poetic. Poetic is in the watcher's eye, as beauty also. I can't guarantee tomorrow, but yesterday was certainly more poetic in the evening than this morning today. But there's also evening tonight. Let us see. But if you talk of decorations and style of cars and restaurants and so on.
Cars, architecture,
Yeah,
design.
it always goes 20 years. Because nowadays I think even 70s is beautiful. And for one hell of a day I will think 80s is beautiful. But I hope I die before.
In your films set in Finland, you deal with both countryside and town, at least in some of them, and in the foreign films you deal only with the town. You are interested in the Finnish countryside, but not in countryside in other European countries.
Yes.
Such a nice question and such a short answer.
Such a nice answer.
Yeah.
Frank.
Okay, let's hand the right to ask to the audience. So now is time for your questions. Ask whatever you like, but ask now because we have
Because later is too late.
later is too late,
And the doors are still locked.
and we said 60 minutes in total, so we are slowly running out of time.
Yeah, the question was about my working with Jean-Pierre Léaud. Well, I was really, when I was young, I didn't need a hat. My head was so hot, not even in the winter, not to mention the summer. But I had a corrector for him, and I didn't even consider the possibility he wouldn't act. Then I heard that he hadn't been acting a main role in 17 years. And I said, oh, wow, it's about the time. But I had to carry him like a child because he was so nervous. And so was I. So the nervous carries the other nervous one. I tried to escape from the set all the time and so on, but he is still such a professional actor that when he acted, it was precise. But I wouldn't recommend him for a first timer.
Maybe I will tell again in the microphone. You have mentioned that you have got many mistakes in your films. Can you give us some examples?
Well, to make it simple, first is the screenplay, and then the direction. Plus editing. No, but I'm some kind of perfectionist on my modest way because my cinematographic talent is not much. Even if I done 30 years, you should do it from Monday to Friday to learn something. And I hate the mistakes which I do. I know audience doesn't know this because the story goes, but the little mistakes of editing should take 3 frames on here. 2 of the music is too loud. It should be this kind of mistakes, but general mistake is my whole production. And this is so big that I have to go to a wider place before I explain it.
You keep on producing.
Yes, always. I had a producer, but I think if I go back to the last answer, I had a producer, but my office was so small that his echo keeps coming.
How much do you speak about your characters with your actors? Before shooting? Before starting the shooting?
When I'm writing or
when you are preparing the film?
it's always nicer to write for a big actor you know. But if I don't have I don't know who will act the part, I will just write something out of my mind and then I find an actor who is fit for the part. But I always work with if I can, I work with the same actors because if they are good, why change? But I also, for my own reasons, I also take their backgrounds and not the future, but the background and where they come and go. But it's never shown in the film. But it's more safe to know what broke them people so badly that they are so desperate that they can't do anything but to act in a Kaurismäkiho film.
I'd like to know about the reception of your films in Finland. We like your films, but do Finns like your films, or how do they feel about the picture, the way you picture Finland and Finns? Are they proud of it, or angry or
I'm half deaf, so
Do Finnish people like your films? We do, but do people in Finland like your films? Basically, that was the question.
I don't know. Some do, some don't. Some even like the films but hate me. But the film is okay, but the man is supposed to be killed. But nobody is all the same, nobody is prophet in his own land goes to listen to. So if Czech people say that it is a good film, then the Finnish people think, okay, there's something in the film. Before that, they hate it.
You have worked with your family members, with your brother and with your wife, in different and you still work with them? You have worked with them or nothing more?
Marriage is not a work. With my brother I worked last time about 30 years ago. We don't work together anymore for the reasons which are too complicated to be answered here.
Which contemporary directors do you respect?
Which contemporary directors do you respect besides Darden Brothers?
I was going to say, beside Chamus, I respect Darden Brothers.
So now you have to change your answer slightly.
Many in fact, but I respect many directors, many. But common thing seems to be that they are not from Hollywood. And I respect Hollywood in the old version of Hollywood, before '62 version of Hollywood. They were true professionals and they made nice films, but then something happened.
But you like The Long Goodbye, which is newer.
Well, Alfred died 7 years ago, at the age of 82, so he was no youngster.
So there are exceptions which are newer than 62, which are acceptable for you.
Yeah, but for example, this expression, Alfred started already with this. Even from Hollywood, of course, there come some pearls, but I haven't seen one so far of the new Hollywood.
Where do you take money from to make your film?
Where do you take money from for financing your films?
In the end, from you. My budgets are always very low, and certain television isn't that. It's never a problem. I'd say like Fassbinder that if you want to make a film, Fassbinder got tired of people who complain, I have a great idea and like to make this beautiful story, but I don't have money. He got tired of them and said, steal the camera and borrow the film. And I agree.
Do you like the last part of Chikamu's movie, Planet Earth, which is practically dedicated to you or your style?
Yeah, he asked me to act in the. He asked me to act the drunken one. Since I don't have any experience, I had to say no. But I produced the finished part, so technically produced to just to help him. Later, I had time to learn.
And you like it?
Producing.
And you like it? Because that was the question, whether you like it or not.
So far, I have liked everything Mr. Jones does. But I especially like the finished part because it was the finished part I like the film in general.
Which Jim Jarmusch movie is your favorite?
Most. But if they put me against the wall and say, okay, now you tell me. Nowadays, I might say that it's Dead Man. As if you're against the wall, it's a good title.
The director Sam Fuller is in your film Human Life as a cameo. Can you tell us what it was like working with him and also what you like about his films?
What was the name?
Sam Fuller.
Yeah. Sam Fuller had a cameo in Bohemian Life. What was it working with him? He's thought to be kind of tough guy.
It seemed more that he was working with me. Fuller's films are so that they start like machine gun and in 3 seconds he puts the situation as this. It takes from amateurs like me half an hour to clear the situation. He makes in 30 seconds. And during the shooting, he took my hand and said, talk to me about Henry James literature, and have you read this and have you read that, and a cigar, and I had my cigarette, and the camera was there, waving camera a bit up. He never gave up, he kept his hand here. In the picture, he was total pro, and then he continued discussion of the cigar. He's exactly as the image you have of him, and he is like that.
And the other detective, how does your cigarette work?
It works. Yeah. Question about your cigarette.
At least somebody cared.
Last 3 questions, please. No more questions? What is the main value in story for you, and how are you deciding between stories to shoot this one and not that one? What's important in the story for you? And is there an aesthetic value in the story itself?
You know, stories come and go, and I might see crippled old lady in the street who says something to somebody, and this starts a story. Or somebody puts a cigarette in an ashtray, this story. They always start with the details. I never analyze anything. Not in cinema, not in life. I refuse to analyze them. Do my films, I never watch them after. That's it. But stories start in whatsoever boring moment, train station, somebody. The luggage falls from the hand, and that's a story. You can make a film out of any, except electronic cigarette. The Match Factory, they started this kind of situation, discussion about lacking of stories in cinema. When I was lighting a cigarette, that time we could do it. And I said you can make a film out of anything, for example, a match. And then I thought, okay, let's make a film out of match. It's not there automatically. Somebody made it, and so on, and so on, and so on. Can easily make a story out of this one. Why is it yellow? Because just in the factory there's somebody who puts the yellow print there. What does he do when he goes home? And so I don't criticize either. I don't analyze, but I don't criticize either.
You said you don't analyze, but you need to say what means this and how it's gonna follow. Is it an analyze?
No, it's not correctly analyzing. I have to excuse because I don't quite understand the question. Could you?
An abandoned suitcase on a train station, that's a thing where about you can think what.
No, I don't think what it means. I think who left it. Suddenly who left it and why. And I go backwards. Somebody left it, why? In a rush. Why was she or he in rush? But it's not analyzing.
And you don't analyze what this rush means or why.
No, analyzing it is it's some kind of intellectual operation, and I have no capability for that.
Okay, last question, if there's any. Why and when have you decided to make your first movie, Crime and the Punishment?
I opened television. There was a documentary made by Truffaut with Alfred Hitchcock. And Hitchcock said that I'd done this and that, but there's one book I wouldn't dare to touch. It's too complicated. It's called Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. At that moment I said, okay, I show you, old man.